Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'm already doxxed from ETH Denver, so no
Oh yeah.
worries.
Oh, that's right. You're up on stage. Well, why don't we start with that? Tell me about that experience. I know you've shared a little bit in some of our meetings, and
Yeah, no, honestly, it was really like a dream come true. If I would describe anything, going to ETH Denver was kind of like well, going to boarding school, you know. Like we all were there for a specific purpose, you know. Everybody knew they wanted to get something out of it, and it was very technical. You know, there were a lot of really interesting speakers and everything, but for the first time you're kind of like living together with all your friends, you know. So like everybody from New Cipher was at the Sheraton, and you know, a bunch of people were at the Art Hotel.
okay.
And I mean, God, we'd listen to like, I mean, amazing speakers. And you know, you'd be so hungry because your brain is just going
Right.
nonstop. And, let's all go grab a bite, you know. But then you know, like I've worked in sales, so it's a little awkward. You know, you meet your clients for the first time. Or do you have any food allergies? Do you like Chinese? You know,
Right.
man, we just rolled out. It was like I've been friends with everybody for the last 15 years, you
Oh
know.
wow, that's really
Really
cool.
cool.
Yeah, it's interesting when you either meet people in real life or like this. I'm seeing you for the first time. We've interacted on Discord and in primarily audio meetings. So I feel like I know you. I know your contributions and things like that. But I mostly know your voice and your written thing. So it's fun to put a face with the name. So there's
Yeah, exactly.
NYC NFT event, which I'm not going to go to, but a couple people are going to be in town, like Benjamin from the committee and a few others. So that's fun too, like the sort of events and meetings around an event.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of how like ETH Denver worked out. You know, Ryan, they had the sponsorship, and so as a portion of that, you know, they were allowed to be a lead presenter.
All right.
And it was, I had no idea, you know, it was a pretty big deal. They were like leading off the very first night, you know, so it was sort of like the introduction night. But you know, Ryan and Jay came up with the concept, let's get one of our community members to go up there. And I was really excited to do it. You know, I was a little nervous, of course, but
Yeah.
the main thing I got about it was, you know, our community is what's really as much in, you know, it's as important as any
Yeah.
product that we produce. You know,
Yeah.
it's all the parts and pieces that kind of build our community. That
Yeah.
is what makes
Right.
Threshold.
That's cool. Well, I hope you had some lead time. When did they hatch that idea?
About probably 6 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we all met, and they were also doing one of the build-a-thon, or not
Oh,
build-a-thons,
yeah.
the Build-A-Bear. No, they were doing one of the hackathons.
Right.
So you know, you can just imagine in the hotel room, there's all these laptops, and everybody's working in different capacities. They're helping hackers. They're, you know, of course, answering questions on Discord. A lot of them were moderating. So it was a really cool environment. But you know, I got a chance to kind of present how I was brought into Threshold. And you know, for me, it was kind of my personal journey to where we are today. So a
Yeah.
lot of it was natural. You know,
That's
I got a
good.
chance to kind of go up there and, you know, just really be myself.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the questions I was going to ask is, and I know you've mentioned a bit before, but just, for the interview, what was it that drew you to Threshold? How did you first hear about it? How'd you get?
Yeah. So kind of a happy accident. You know, when we get into my background, I'll talk about that
Yeah,
later.
we'll loop back to that.
At the time, I was a professor, and the college that I was teaching at, they always give the professors a perk, and they say, oh, you can take any 2 classes you want for free. You know,
Oh,
and I love education, and I love kind of branching out. And, you know,
yeah.
usually it would be like an art class or a photography class or something, but
Right.
they had a blockchain class, you know, and it was sort of the entryway into smart contracts.
Mhm.
I have always wanted to learn more about smart contracts.
Right.
So um, I signed up for the class, and it was a really neat project. We did the very basic the Ethereum pet shop, which is just kind of like the entryway into smart contracts. But during it, they said, look, you should branch out. There's a lot of money out there. You can enter these bounty hunts. If you're a coder, you can do bug hunting. And I said, no, I'm not really a coder. If you're a hacker, a lot of times they'll want to, fork things. If you want to, no, I wasn't really.
Right. So you're saying you taken the class basics on smart contracts.
Yeah. And kind of round about the end of it, they were teaching everybody about bounty hunting. And I found playing for keeps, and I thought, gosh, this is really something that I can do. I'm really interested in this. And I had enough of a background. I was comfortable to launch a node. But the project just really pulled me in. The very first week that we all got together, they had a Zoom call, and I'm involved on the Zoom call, and I immediately kind of linked up with another couple of guys, and we had some ideas for a group project. And before long, we won. Every month they would divvy out these tokens, and oh my God, when we won, I couldn't believe it. I mean, there was a cash value to it. Of course, it was a really nice windfall, but just the fact that someone like me that was just coming into crypto, and here I am amongst everybody in the world. It was a global competition. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And remind me what your project was that, or because maybe there are more than one that won the play for keeps.
A couple of projects. The first one I did. Let me just grab a drink of water real quick. Gets me excited.
Yeah, no problem.
So we got together with another gentleman in Ireland, and he had collected pretty much every laptop that he ever had, and he got all this beat up equipment. He had a Raspberry Pi, and he said, I really want to know if I can run like 10 or 15 nodes. So I'm going to try every piece of equipment that I have, and I'm going to try to launch a node. And I said, man, I don't know anything about building a computer. The last time I really put anything together was when my Apple crashed in college, and I couldn't afford a new one. So I had to learn, how to put a new hard drive in, and it didn't go so well. So, I signed up with like AWS, and I built a totally autonomous cloud computer, and, spent a little bit of money on it. There was the monthly fee. I kind of boosted up my Infura connection. So I went I wouldn't say high dollar value, but, I kind of took the high road, and I looked at it like, I'm going to take this very seriously. And if I have a little bit of money, I'll do it. And he said, no, I'm just going to use my Raspberry Pi. And one of the ways that he was checking his node was when his fan went crazy. Because he was like, I know whenever I'm getting my EDSA function because my fan goes crazy.
Right.
Like, that wakes you up in the middle of the night, and he's like, yeah. He's like, I can hear that fan going, and I run over and I make sure, I log everything. So
that's funny.
But I think the reason that we might have won was I took all that raw data and I put it into a really nice graphic format. So we kind of cleaned it up. I used a lot of pictures whenever I could, and I tried to just make it a little bit more palatable, and maybe that caught the judge's eye.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I remember I wasn't a judge, but I just remember when these would come out, and seeing the announcements in Discord, and just all the excitement, like you said, for the whole thing. People getting introduced to the project, and they're getting involved, and they're building things, and it was a really exciting time at the, I think will be sort of the birth of, threshold cryptography, and in this, in our threshold, sort of the modern, era, the foundation of so many things that are to come. And
absolutely, yeah. Well, and that was when, of course, meeting Chris and, some of the other moderators, it blew me away that there was this director, this project director, Matt Luongo, And, he was very successful and very renowned, but he was available. I mean, he would show up and every week, and we would see him, writing back to us on Discord. And
Yeah.
I would just, from my professional background, I mean, that would literally be like, Frank Lloyd Wright stopping by to, check
Right.
off, make sure your doors are in the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was awesome. So, that, that was kind of my natural entree-vu into,
Right.
everything Threshold.
Mhm.
It's just that foundation of a real community and
Right.
these friends.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask. So then was it sort of the community aspect that kept you interested? There's the technology, but there are the people, too, and the interactions and the different things and projects.
So after Keep, just to kind of put it in perspective, and nothing to say anything bad about the Graph Foundation, but I was confident enough that I said, hey, I'm going to attack another challenge. And I went and became a curator for the Graph.
Oh.
And so well organized. It was a San Francisco based company. So it was, real close to the West Coast. Same time zone. I wasn't, a lot of times I'd have to get up in the middle of the night to meet with my partners because, we were a global group.
Right.
So I made it all the way through the testnet curator program. And, of course, at the end of it, I was awarded some tokens, but it was very technical. It was a really technical platform. And of course, they were looking to build subgraphs that are very kind of straightforward. There isn't really a lot of interplay. And I kind of lost interest in that, So, I use that as kind of a ground for comparing the Threshold launch, I think, and I had a chance to kind of read through some of the questions you asked Sasha. I had actually, I thought a little bit more about what were one of your questions were, what is the most exciting product that Threshold has, what is it that it has to offer? And, I hate to say that it's a product, but it's really our community. It's really the men and women that show up every day to participate. I think that's what's the most exciting thing about Threshold.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's, there's the core there that drew, all of us to it. And then the products, the projects, the different things, and then the discussion in the community about how should we do this. And especially with the move to the DAO, where it's, it's all of ours. It's not, started as two different teams and then communities growing around them. But that's been a fascinating thing too, seeing the new Cypher and Keep communities come together into the, Threshold. But then, now we have a DAO. You have, how do we make decisions? What are the, different, groups? And everybody has a voice. It's, I see it as a meritocracy, the best, ideas. There's a lot of discussion, and hopefully the best ideas, are the
it's
ones.
Incredible. Yeah, it's really incredible. I mean, I mentioned my background is in education, and every like 5 to 10 years, the college will go through the curriculum. And, there's classes that everybody are teaching, and there's new technology that we have to bring in. But, at a state university level, you've got to make sure that your curriculum meets the requirements, and it can just be a bloodbath. I mean, we actually have to take 2 weeks off and set it aside, and I mean, we have to have some of the highest level governors of the university, all the state officials. Sometimes, it's really a lot of politics.
Is that because there's not always enough resources to do everything that's been done in the past? And
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of strong opinions, with curriculum, you're trying to take an idea and a concept, and you got to make it palatable, because the colleges and the universities, they have to draw students in. They certainly have to have enough people that want to go there, but you've also got to make sure that it's technically challenging, and you really have to provide a good subject matter. but the research takes years. I mean, one small aspect of my thesis took me like 3 years of research, and
Oh, wow.
you want to go out and test it, and you can't just build a building and blow it up if it doesn't work. You got you got $100 million out there. So so a lot of that opinion kind of carries over into education, and people get really strong opinions, and
Yeah.
there isn't really a mechanism. But you put that back and you look at how our merger came to be. I mean, it's historical. It's the first time that it's ever happened that two autonomous or blockchain
Right.
entities really came together, and that's exactly right. How do we do it? I mean, how do we merge? How do we what's in the best interest of NewsCypher? What's in the best interest of Keep? And
Right.
how will those translate into the future? What's in the best interest of Threshold, really?
Yeah, and it was community members who originally suggested to the teams, to Matt and McLean and others, like, hey, there's a lot of similarities here. Maybe we should, explore this. And, there again, it's the value of that. If you think about, it's a network, and networks have value. Well, communities and the people that we're bringing to this are nodes in that network, and the more that we do, the more influential and maybe the more sort of interactive each of our nodes is, which makes the whole network more valuable,
more reliable, more decentralized. It's outstanding. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So what sort of subject areas did you teach, or what's your background? Like, how did you get into academia?
Yeah, that's a really good question. My professional background is interior design. And so in the US, it was more of a commercial designer.
Okay.
So like think about like big offices and big hotels. Kind of vanilla when it comes to color palette. You don't really get to do a lot of
Neutral
stuff.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah, like you see on TV, everybody's like, oh, that must be, you must get to pick all of the finishes, but it was really technical.
Mm-hmm.
And I came into being a lighting designer, and I loved it. There's just enough math, there was just enough space planning, and there was the human element. The goal of lighting really is, you've got to kind of bounce enough energy off of the surfaces for people to function.
Right.
So if you're in a restaurant, you don't want the same lighting that you're going to have in an office.
Yeah.
So, so once kind of got into that, of course, had a wonderful time, great living, traveled around a lot. I got to work for some really, really interesting corporations. I was a hotel designer for a while. And one of my bosses gave me the opportunity to go back and get my master's degree, because it was getting real technical. When LEDs came out, there was so much science.
Okay.
And to put it in perspective, a light fixture went from $10 to $1,000. So we really had to stand behind our designs. And I got in grad school, and oh my God, I was just like a kid in a candy store. There was so much information, and I wrote a thesis on daylight integration into space. So from a human element, imagine your dog. Like my dog will always kind of sneak over and grab that last little strip of sunlight at the end of the day. And I thought, well, people do the same thing, So I kind of did like a first person study. I would disguise myself as an art student, and I would go around to different places. So I would kind of blend in, and everybody thought I was just an artist. And literally I'm like studying their movements and, kind of, making a little record of how they're enjoying the space. So it was really hard for me to go back to my daily work as a professional, and they were desperate for teachers, especially in my community. And it was awesome. I got a chance to get involved, and I always chose freshman and sophomore. Those were kind of my favorite. They were sort of the big intro classes, and we got to cover like a whole myriad of different topics and subjects.
Right.
And I was the only person that still knew how to draft by hand. So
Yeah.
I always had a drafting class every fall and spring. Everything else was quickly, everything was going to computers, and if you don't do that stuff every day, you lose.
Oh
You
yeah, definitely.
lose it.
Yeah.
So
That's so interesting. So my wife and I are building a house, and I've been thinking about that a lot. So I've been thinking we wanted it to be as environmentally friendly, as we could. So we're doing like, high SEER rating and getting, windows that are, really well insulated and all of that. And I'm going to put solar panels on the roof, which I wanted to do so with the current house that we've lived in for about 15 years, or I have. My wife, her family has been here a lot longer. It's a 135-year-old house. It's a historic district in New Jersey, and they don't allow solar panels. So I got really excited when we bought this new place and started, renovating it. So finally, I'm going to be able to do, solar panels.
it's awesome.
And then I've been asking the company that does the solar panels, like, what about passive solar? Like, we have all of these windows, obviously, and we've got some transom windows on the side, and so been trying to incorporate both in terms of like light and seeing. So, and it's also going to back up to our backyard backs up to a big forest, couple thousand acre reservation. So we wanted to have as many windows in the back as possible, so you can, that's what we're going to be looking at. But also, thinking about the light coming in and the heat, and because you can sit in a window sometimes, even in the winter, and the amount of heat that comes in from the sunlight is really intense. So
It's incredible. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's amazing. You should take a look at Alvar Aalto.
okay.
I'm originally from Philly, and one of the reasons I moved to the Southwest was the winters. I mean, they would just kill me. I would get so depressed, and
Right.
that seasonal depression disorder. It's
Yeah,
definitely a real thing.
for sure.
But I just remember that summertime feeling. Like, I miss July. July is my favorite time because the sunlight stays till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But God, I remember walking home from school at 3 o'clock, and you'd have that long shadow. And by the time I got home and dropped my books and everything, it was dark out. It was like dark at 4:30 sometimes. So definitely want to look at your alignment where you have your house. And it sounds funny, but you take your cell phone and a cardboard box and just take the cardboard box and cut a couple windows, like that long strip of window in there.
Oh, okay.
And put your cell phone in there, and you could do like a time lapse record with it. There's some cool apps that they have.
Oh, like to see how the shadows move, or
see how the shadows come, and where they come in the house, and you kind of get an idea of the intensity.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, little things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course now, I mean, the daylight harvesting has changed so much. We used to use Google SketchUp and Google Earth. That's another really cool one. You can actually program, if you get Google Earth and you do SketchUp together, you can just build a quick little mock-up of your house. And Boolean models, there's nothing to it. But you could put in winter in New Jersey, and it'll tell you the exact time of year, kind of how much sun you're getting.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know the solar company, the panel company, did some kind of thing. Like, they took the address, and there's like satellite photo of the roofs. They can see all the angles, and no problem. And essentially calculate how much energy you're likely to produce from it. In fact, I've even seen in real estate listings recently, there's like, they call it like a sun number or something. So it must be.
Oh yeah. It's huge out west. I mean, the biggest thing right now, McDonald's and some smaller places are actually, obviously the Tesla, the parking spots.
Yeah.
They're really pushing that. Some of them will encourage, like restaurants will, they'll encourage you to charge your car there. They'll give you a free charge or something if you eat dinner, or I know Blythe, which is on the way to the beach. It used to be kind of the stop where everybody kind of needed a break, get a drink, use the restroom. But now it's the big charging hub. And there's all these Tesla cars there. But the one thing that people aren't really thinking about is, they're plugging into the grid when they get home. But imagine if you were plugging into the sun. Imagine if you have those solar panels, and even if you don't have an electric car, you could just let your buddies plug in, and everybody could get a free charge. So
no, and our neighbor has it, and I can't wait to see the dial go backwards, producing electricity, and then eventually I want to get one of those wall batteries so that I can have an electric car powered by the sun, and not have to go to the gas station, and not
and it's super healthy. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to do passive solar design and I'm going to save money on my electric bill. But your circadian rhythm, I believe, the human body, it hasn't changed that much in the last, 5,000 years.
Evolved, right?
Our diets changed. We're a lot more healthy. We're able to kind of grow to a taller height because we have better nutrition.
Right.
But 200 years ago, we didn't have alarm clocks. We were very much in tune with nature. And one of the things that I find, if I'm having trouble sleeping at night, you should go outside, no matter what day of the year it is, even in the middle of winter, and just as soon as you get up in the morning, just turn your face up to the sun. Let that sun hit you.
Right.
And they've kind of proven there's a little clock in your brain, and it's the circadian rhythm gland, and it'll just kind of reset itself. And
no, that's so interesting.
But anyway, let's talk about lighting.
Right. So starting in interior design, which led to university and teaching, and that taking courses, and that led to learning more about blockchain, smart contracts. We talked before the video started. We talked a bit about your NFTs. So the one on what I'm seeing is the right is an NFT that was printed on skateboards. And what was that artist again?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I really love this guy. His name is Vex, and this is something that's really neat. They do infinite objects, because a lot of people say, well, what's the deal with an NFT? Why would I buy a piece of art that is only on the blockchain?
Right.
But you get these. I don't know if I should hold it.
Oh, that's really
little screens, and they embed the artwork on here, and so you actually have a little tangible piece. But what's really neat about the artwork is every one of them is kind of individual.
That's really
he
cool.
did I think he did maybe 50 of these, and when you buy the NFT, you become the manager of it. It's depending on how deeply they embed it. Usually they embed it like as an IPFS, or there's some backup to it. But the concept behind it is just like any other blockchain transaction. The artwork, whether it's a song or if it's a visual sketch that's like someone did an oil painting, they translate that oil painting into digital format, take a picture of it. But you can have your whole house burned down, and as long as you have your seed phrase, your art still lives, and and I remember times when people would say, oh, I have a Picasso, and well, do you have a Picasso?
That's a question, right?
Yeah,
someone got to authenticate it, and there have been issues there.
Absolutely.
No, it's so interesting. And then on the other side, is that an NFT as well, or
another NFT? And I'm really, really proud of that one. Josie Bellini is an artist, but she's also, she's I really respect her a lot, because she's a woman in business, and she just kind of represents what decentralization really means to me. She's from the Chicago area, and she got into the blockchain, a long time ago, in blockchain years, right? Almost 4 years ago. So, but she's an original CryptoPunk investor, and she used to do a TV show called Behind the Art. And my wife and I, my wife also is really into NFTs. And, at times we would see a lot of artists coming on the scene, but in 2019, NFTs were really unheard of. I mean, there would be drops, they would have a drop that would happen, and it would take like 5 days. There would just be art sitting out there, and they'd be like, well, I don't know, should I buy this? Maybe I'll come back and see if it's still there tomorrow,
Right.
And she's one of the original artists. This is actually the set of a pair, and there's ETH girl, and then there's the Bitcoin girl.
Okay.
But if I don't have it set up, but there's an app on my phone, and if you hold the app over the artwork, it literally finds the IPFS file based on the artwork, and then it verifies it on chain.
Oh, wow.
And so you're holding your phone in front of the artwork, and it's showing the live interactive NFT. So it's pretty cool.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, again, with interior design, especially with architecture, part of the concept behind an architect is that you want to build something that's functional, and it's got to be useful. Health and safety is one of the key aspects of interior design. I grew up in the 80s, and we had sick building syndrome. I don't know if you remember that, but they
not the term, but I remember the 80s, and I remember people smoking in office buildings.
Yeah. And they would save so much money on the buildings, right? They would, okay, if I need 50 tons of air conditioning, well, can I get away with 45? And pretty soon the buildings were not healthy environments for people. There wasn't any daylight, there wasn't any fresh air. And so you have people they want to go to work every day, they have a family to support, but their office is literally making them sick. So so for me, I've always kind of taken that to heart. But then you also want something to be beautiful, and it's a creation of yours. And I remember the first time I walked into a hotel that I designed, my heart, I couldn't believe it. I'm in a space, and this was on my sketch pad. We literally talked about this at a dinner one night, and I drew this on a napkin. Like, that's a true story. So
wow, that's so
cool. I've always kind of I've always sort of branched that out, and whenever I love the NFT artists, and I'm a real big fan of Twitter. I get a chance to support them, and kind of follow them, and be a part of their lives.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And it's funny that when the last one of these interviews I did, Meet the DAO, was with Sasha from the Keep team, and she started as an architect, or one of her in her career, and she was talking about how which one of the things she didn't like was architects designing just sort of for the art or for themselves, and not taking as much into account the person who's going to live there, and who's, it's their house, and they're, commissioning it. And she related that to, design thinking, and really getting into the end user, when you're designing something. So it's interesting to hear it come up in this conversation as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with her on that. I mean, Frank Lloyd Wright is notorious. There's a couple of buildings here in town, and I mean, I'll bang my head if I don't pay attention, because he was a shorter guy, but he really didn't care. If he was just like, well, if you're too tall, then that's your problem. Like, I'm making my doors like 5'6".
There's a couple around here. There's one in our town, which I haven't been inside, and then there's another one a couple towns over. It's really really interesting. Cool.
Yeah. So going from design, I guess one of the biggest things that really drew me to the Threshold network, was just the ability for us to bring our best selves to the team. And what I mean by that is, we've obviously got some very intelligent mathematicians, and we have some incredible coders. We have engineers that are world renowned, but there's not to say, oh gosh, it's a competition. I better become a better coder, or else I'm not going to be a part of Threshold.
Right.
Because the coders, a lot of times, they're more comfortable, kind of being in their environment, and be a little bit separated. I need to focus on this. I need to write code for 6 hours. So I was invited to join the marketing guild, and that just was such a natural fit. It was everything that I always wanted to kind of be a part of. So
that's great. Yeah. And my feeling or impression is that the teams, the developers, the architects, they really appreciate the community, the marketing guild, integrations, treasury guild, people who bring these different perspectives and different, skills to growing this network and what I think will become an ecosystem, right? I mean, it starts with technology of the community, the more products that get built on it, including by other outside teams, then it really does become this ecosystem around privacy interacting with public chains. And super exciting.
No, teaching, like, for example, I mentioned I love the freshman and sophomore classes. A lot of times they would come in and they wouldn't even understand what a designer did. They would think, gosh, I'm just gonna have fun and do all these fantastic lunches all the time, or I would kind of have them do an entry project, but by the middle of the semester, there were people that were musicians, for example, and they would struggle. They would say, well, I want to make my interior space feel like I'm listening to a song. And my task as a professor was to give them the tools that they needed, and you can bang on AutoCAD all day long. I don't think that it's ever really going to get there, so we've got to do something else, and I'll give them a pack of charcoal pencils or something like that. I'll just say, get a razor blade and, use your hands, do some finger painting. Right. It sounds crazy, but if you can kind of get people to have a little bit of freedom, to really create what is inside them, then they bring out products that are, and then all of a sudden the person that was really good on their team that knew how to do AutoCAD took the charcoal drawing and turned it into a shape, turned it into a mesh, and that's what I see happening on our conversations, and that's what I see in our different chat rooms. We have this unlimited capacity. I mean, once V2 happens, and once the network really is kind of built out this summer, there's no stopping it. And I just love kind of being able to kind of bring in all the new ideas and to kind of bring the tools and marry them together with the people.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a very creative process and endeavor, right? So anything else you'd like to share with the community, like fun facts or we've covered some of your hobbies, and we're talking about NFTs and looking at them, but anything else?
Yeah, no, I think fun facts. I have a life. I have some good hobbies. I get out. I love my Tacoma. I have a Toyota truck, and when I'm not working as a professor, I also work in construction. And it's always been kind of nice, when the summers, we used to have to find a summer job or, find some way to kind of augment, make too much money as a teacher. So I would always do construction, and my brother-in-law and I are really close, and he's a superintendent. He has a general contracting company. So I'd always have a work truck, and I finally bought a 4-wheel drive work truck, and I have so much fun. We go out in the desert, and I love to go off-roading and kind of trail hopping, and
oh, that's great.
And I like to snowboard, and just kind of being outside. But a fun fact about me is I'm a dog lover. I've always had a dog. My wife and I adopt pit bulls.
Oh, okay.
And a couple of years ago, we found a pit bull that was on its way to, unfortunately, the shelter.
Yeah.
And it was a puppy. We both grew up with labs, and we thought, oh well, let's give it a shot. and I just fell in love with the dog, you know. So I've always, you know, we're on our second adopted dog, and so it's a big part of my life.
Yeah, ours too. We've got a little Pomeranian now that our daughter found and purchased. But before that, we had adopted just kind of a mutt who unfortunately had some health issues and didn't make it. But
yeah. Well, you're gonna love that forest back there, God, with that Pomeranian.
Yeah, no, it's, and my daughter has a dog, so she brings him over, and that's what we're, you know, designing as a place for and we have 4 kids, so for the kids to come home from college and bring their friends, eventually they'll, you know, have significant others and kids, and
that's awesome.
That so yeah, well, I'll have to send you some pictures of the construction of this house. Has just been fascinating. I've done some rehabbing myself, and then I've renovated a number of houses, but this is by far the biggest project, and it's, you know, my wife and I are planning to live there for 30 years, so we're, you know, really
awesome.
a lot into
you got to give Ben a call, have him get you some wood.
Well, in fact, I've already done that. So for for Kirsten's birthday, Ben was showing me some examples of some things he had made, and one of them was a jewelry box, and my wife loves those, and her old one had kind of been broken. So the type of wood that he used on the top reminded me of a piece of furniture that we had just bought. So I said, "Oh, do you think you could get one in time for the end of April?" So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really, and that's another thing. Just meeting, you know, interesting. Yeah, and I'm going to meet Ben Friday.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys are going in the city, or
so getting to know interesting people, you know, like you, and
so interesting.
And finding out, you know, just that much more, you know, about them. That's even more interesting.
Yeah, I grew up in Philadelphia, so I'm really familiar with the area. I'm jealous not being at, you know, NYC, but I got to go to East Denver, so that was my little treat.
Cool. And you mentioned the Southwest. Are you in like Arizona?
Arizona, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it. You know, I've been here for 30 years. Growing up in Philadelphia, it's like I might as well be on the dark side of the moon, you know.
It's very different. Yeah.
It rained all the time, and you know, of course we have the 4 seasons, and I don't think I ever even saw a cactus. And but I just had a chance to move out here, and you know, I just totally fell in love with the place. And yeah,
it's beautiful. We have one of our daughters goes to University of Arizona in Tucson, so
awesome.
Out there several times to visit, and then we also love Sedona, so we've been there a few times. And just
what a small world! Yeah, we got to get together if you're ever out for.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
This year, that'd be so much fun. I mean, meeting everybody in person like just changed, you know, it sort of changed my whole perspective on the blockchain and just everything that we're building, you know.
That's really cool.
So yeah, that's
great. Well, I'm gonna make some dinner, but I'm glad we got to do this. Thanks for your time, and
great job on Jess's. I had a chance to really read it. That was awesome. You did a great job.
Yeah, and enjoyed it. And again, just such interesting, you know, people. So maybe I don't know if I do a screenshot, or I'd love to get something with your art in it. So maybe
I can hold that up again if you want.
and maybe you can even send a couple you know, photos with the art. But so now I'm seeing the connection. I'll see how the screenshot comes out, but if not, you can send some photos. You can really see that it's almost like, looks like it's like a kaleidoscope. Like are the pieces moving? Like, does it have moving with the?
She blinks, and it's
that's just reflections, or is there moving parts?
It's actually like a live. I don't know if I can get a better. If you can see it there. Wow. But everything in there is alive.
How does that? Is it Mechanical or how, what, like, how's it work?
It's so it's embedded inside. It's a small TV screen inside there, and then there's static art on the frame. Oh, there's
Right.
static art on the frame, and then there's a little TV screen.
Oh,
And every couple of days, you just charge it.
oh, wow. And
Yeah.
so the artist is Vex, VEXX.
Yeah, Vex.
All right, I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. He actually does. If you have any grandkids or do coloring books, they're good for adults too,
Yeah.
but they're very therapeutic. Like if you've ever drawn mandalas, it's kind of that same concept. You know, you just get drawn in with color, and it's a way of kind of meditating while you're drawing. So,
Wow, very cool.
and I'll send you a picture of my dog.
Okay, yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, we can put a couple in. Well, great to meet you virtually, in person, more than just the voice, Nico. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
That sounds great. Yeah, for sure. And they'll definitely between me and you, I'm an ASU guy, so we'll have to get together for the football game this fall, maybe.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you come out east, but we'll definitely be maybe for Parents Weekend. We'll have 3 kids in college, so we're trying to coordinate when their parents' weekends are. But we'll definitely be out in Tucson and Phoenix sometime in the next 6 months, I'm sure. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to have dinner with you. Let you meet my better half. So awesome.
Right.
Really great job.
Good one. Cheers.
Yeah, have a good dinner.
Thanks.